Good morning. My name is Nirmal K. Bharadwaj. I am alumnus of IIT Kharagpur and I am Ahmedabad. Given my background in technology and management, I'm a student of life. I've learned and continue to learn at all points in time from every human being I interact, I meet, work with. Strange times, the times that all of us are going through almost for the last half a year. In fact, today happens to be the just midpoint of the year, has made us ponder and think that there can be a disruption in our existence to an extent that survival itself becomes the biggest issue, and everything else that we've been chasing takes the back seat. As I delve deep into understand the human behavior and conduct in different situations, I come to a conclusion that the freedom, the liberty, the fundamental rights of speech, of existence, have just on the other side a spectrum is a fear. Fear of things, fear of death. That is the mother of all the fears. In a given scenario, with the biological decadence of human beings, or what we call as a graceful aging, the fact is that we draw very closer to death in a very nimble-footed manner, and at every stage we prepare ourselves for the day. But when there is an extreme fear of death, which is out of turn from nowhere, is called thanatophobia. And what makes it unbearable is that we are not ready for it. And it can strike at any time, anybody, anywhere, and en masse, and no one is spared. Your individual characteristics and behavior has nothing to do with such an imminent threat. And you see day in and day out people coming, taking their last breath, kicking the bucket, and facing something they were never prepared for. And that process gives rise to what is known as a necrophobia. When everything around you represents gloom, morbidity, fear, death, no cure, you suddenly feel very weak in your knees. Your mind swells up with so many memories and thoughts, but one lurking fear, the shivers through your spines, and you feel forlorn like a kid at the crossroads. You just don't know how to express and what to express. And when you see everything around you is disrupted, schools don't open, your kids don't go to school, you don't go to office, you don't meet people, you don't talk to people much physically across the table, and all that you see is the news all over the world that what you are faced with, almost the whole mankind is faced with. This gives me an opportunity to introspect that the reasons and the cause as to why it has happened and who finally is responsible for it. I won't go into nationalities, people, races as to who caused it and why they caused it and what their greed is, but I will take it at a macro level to tell you that our migration to cities, clusters, the development, the crumbling infrastructures arising out of concentrated population, the travelers going across from one place to other, the wars that we have waged, it hasn't not only caused the pandemic that we are confronted now, but ever since last several hundreds of years at certain regular intervals, such pandemics have struck mankind. In fact, There has been a time when a large population from the planet got almost wiped off to an extent of 1/3 of its cumulative population at that point in time. And I believe that happened in 1350 AD, what's called the Black Death. Imagine if all those people were also alive, we would have long crossed even 10 billion population on a compounded growth basis. Not only that, in 1665, one of the very developed kingdom known as the United Kingdom, which ruled a large number of countries on this planet, almost lost 20% of its population in London during the Great Plague. So, such catastrophes have taken place, and the mankind yet has survived. Today, we are groping in the dark. We are faced with unknown. We are faced with high risk, high uncertainty, and suddenly every aspiration, every urgency seems to have taken the back seat, and the sheer existence, sheer breath of air itself has become our preoccupation. And we fear and wonder as to when I would be denied even to inhale the fresh air by this pandemic. What does it tell us actually? It tells us more fundamentally the so-called development or the man's desire to grow to a place that not acknowledge that the nature is much larger than human beings. Is it the price that we are paying? Indeed. If you look at the process of development and whatever it has brought and the underlying causes of the various pandemics, whether it was HIV, AIDS, cholera, plague, measles, smallpox, all this predominantly happened for just a few minutes back, the reasons that I told. Migration, concentrated population, lack of hygiene, unbridled growth, inequilibrium in people's existence, wars, the greed. So what is it that mankind is trying to achieve? Is it something very ephemeral, just materialistic? What do you want to do with this materialism? In any case, when all of us have come here only for a short while of time to do what we want to do. And we want to create monuments, the name, the legacy that we want to leave. What legacy cumulatively has mankind so far left? If these pandemics are to go by, and the fundamental cause of that, as you know, is bacteria, is fungi, is virus, it is parasite. Do you know that? All these causes of pandemic are there on my body, on your body, as I talk to you and as you listen to me. They're inside your body, they're on your body, they're continuously interacting with your being, but there is an equilibrium. There is a balance. There is a war going on in every pore of your body. That's the reason why in our old literature, in our civilization, in our Vedas, even in the scientific explorations, it is well established that there is a universe inside and there's a universe outside. It is only the disproportional balance disrupted by these bacteria, the virus, the fungi, and parasites that we get diseased. And we take a great pride in acknowledging that we have vaccines, we have medicines. I must tell you, I really don't know what medicines really cure. If you go by the cognitive mapping of the side effects of these medicines vis-a-vis what treatment they do, definitely the mortality rate is going up. Today, I believe it stands at anywhere between 69 years to 72 years. And as we speak, 13% of the world population is already upwards of 65 years of an age. So they are living in the cusp of a decade or decade and a half to anyway bid goodbye to this world. And they seem to be the most prone to get this pandemic because their immunity systems have gone down. In any case, we would die after 10, 15 years, those who are upwards of 65 years. Anyway, the quality of life has gone down over the period of time. But what lessons are we going to take away from this? Do you realize that the COVID-19 virus is now mutating at a pace and a speed that it is continuously defying the human cells? That means by continuously subjecting ourselves to imbalance with the nature, metaphorically speaking, in every possible manner that you can think of, our own human cells, which so far have combated with the raiders like viruses and bacteria, today have rendered our own system of defense much weaker. And I think that's what we need to look at. We are all in the pursuit of materialism, leading a very, very imbalanced life. Tangible imbalance and intangible imbalance, and I don't know what we are pursuing and what that milestone is which we're trying to touch and therefore feel metamorphized as a superhuman beings. I believe that any human being who is not continuously introspecting and moment to moment, knowingly and unknowingly, not trying to restore his or her physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual balance is only trying to commit serious damage to one's own existence, self-inflicted, self-caused, self-faced, in the most darkest and the lonely spaces of human existence. So I think if there is any takeaway from the present pandemic, then it is only that we talk to ourselves in a dark room and take a pause that we have come to this world to think, to be among fellow human beings, be in the lap of nature and lead a very balanced life. I'm not one bit saying that the man must not progress. I'm not one bit suggesting that you should not develop, but not by disrupting the balance of nature and the human existence. Every time you disrupt and cause this imbalance, nobody else is a victim but yourself. So if our development is a symbolic of child playing on the beach who is continuously making sand castles and the nature keeps continuously kicking it, then all that we would have is the roar of the sea, to hear the moist wind brushing our face and the tear rolling our eyes down, and heavy heart to feel and believe that ever since the man is born hasn't really achieved anything but is caught in concentric conundrum which is only taking it back to the center of nature wherefrom it may have emanated. Thank you for listening to me.